Well, there we are, live pictures now. As you can see, that heavy rain has stopped, but Tim, that track is still a little bit damp. David Coulthard was a bit disappointed to get into where he is off the line because where he is going to be a little damp compared to the other side of the road.
Well, exactly. If you're on the left-hand side of the grid, your chances are you're going to have a drier line. It hasn't dried out completely, as you can see. And if you're on the right, it's certainly going to be damp, so it's going to be difficult for those guys on the right-hand side of the grid. You just notice one other thing, Darryl. They've moved the start line. It's all the way down towards Cops Corner now. It used to be back at the exit of Woodcote. That's interesting in itself.
Car's just about to go out off the line now. So we'll get a little bit of look at the circuit as they go around. Interesting to note with the new tyres there, they're quite radically different, aren't they, from the old patterns we used to have for wet weather?
Well, those tyres we saw then, of course, were full wets. They weren't the normal slicked dry weather tyre. I don't know whether, well, we can see it drying out now. I don't know whether we're going to see the tyres on the cars from the inboard cameras. That would give us an idea of what people are running.
All right, now having a look at the track now, knowing they're running on full wets, I mean, and it is drying out pretty quickly, how long is that rubber going to last?
That rubber won't last very long at all. And I'm surprised people are even, well, from what I can see of the track now, running wets at all. Damp on the outside there, you wouldn't want to be off the racing line. Otherwise you'll be into onto the grass, which will be like ice, and you'll be into the barrier. You
drove on the old layout. I mean, compare that to what you're seeing today.
The old layout was an incredible circuit, unbelievable circuit. You can't really compare it as it is today. You couldn't race the way it is today. What I'm trying to say, the old circuit, you couldn't run a modern Grand Prix car there. Far, far too fast.
All right, saying that, I mean, we've had 2 road courses for Formula 1 races here at the Australian Grand Prix, and we're looking at a purposely made racetrack. Do you think that we're going the right way with what Alan calls Mickey Mouse tracks?
It's a shame, Mickey Mouse tracks, and one of the great things with Albert Park is that it is a fantastic flowing circuit, natural circuit. Must be a great circuit to drive on.
So you're saying that the old circuit, I know AJ used to love it. He just said there were some corners there that really did test your mettle every time you went round.
Well, I think the quickest speed on the old circuit was KK Rosberg some years ago in a William, 160 mile an hour average. I mean, that is fast.
Yeah, very quick. Yeah, you might have to bear with us tonight right around Australia. Because of this wet weather, there could be some technical difficulties during the race. Hopefully not, but when it rains, it tends to sort of play up a little bit with the lines. Let's hope that doesn't happen. There's a good shot there, Tim, as you look right down. I mean, it's a beautiful layout, though, isn't it, this whole setup?
Fantastic layout, very, very popular Grand Prix. Sold out months before the event. It's quite dry coming down there through Woodcote. I think it's going to be a very exciting race.
Well, there you go. I mean, you've had a good look at the circuit conditions. Some corners there are quite wet still. You can see the spray coming back off the tyres. But looking there, this part of the circuit looks like it's drying pretty quickly. Now, we know that Schumacher will want to make a good start. David Coulthard, always quick off the line, but Hakkinen lately has been sensational with his start, so it's going to be very, very important, I would think, as it is with most Grand Prix, to get off very quickly. All right, all set to go by the look of it now. Let's go across to Murray Walker and Martin Brundle.
Up to 3 seconds, and the 60-lap British Grand Prix will be go. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Go! And Silverstone, Hakkinen leads, Schumacher second, Villeneuve is alongside, and coming through on the inside, it's one of the salvos. It looks like Johnny Herbert has come up into 4th place. Now it's a Lacey with a terrific start. But meantime, Hakkinen can choose the dry line as he goes out of the Beckett's complex and down the Hanger Straight. Schumacher is behind him, and David Coulthard is in 3rd position. So the first 3 on the grid are the first 3 in the race. And sure enough, it's Jean Alesi in 4th position. Heitz Harold Frentzen is in 5th position, and behind him is Eddie Irvine.
Both Williams slow away. Coulthard will be absolutely relieved. He was behind Villeneuve on the grid, of course, and now he's up. This is going to be a 3-horse race, judging by the time so far through this Grand Prix weekend, and a big relief for Coulthard. I know he was concerned about getting tucked up behind Villeneuve, and the 2 Williams are back. So a clean start, though, nobody off the road yet.
And very, very bad news indeed for Eddie Irvine, who started 5th on the grid, and he's down, it looks like, to 8th position at the present moment as they go round Bridge Corner up to the complex for the first time. The 2 lefts and then the 2 rights, and Michael Schumacher is closing on Mika Häkkinen. He's going to give the Finn a very hard time at the start of the race.
Well, this is a whole new experience for all the drivers. They wouldn't have run on the intermediates this morning. It's too wet. So as they're tentatively finding their way around, it's as new to them as it is to us. They've no idea the grip level to expect when they arrive in the braking zone.
And look at the way that Häkkinen and Schumacher are pulling away. Already at the end of the first lap, David Coulthard is 1.5 seconds down as Eddie Irvine battles with Alexander Wurz. That's Ralf Schumacher, who's come up through the field from last but 1 on the grid. Ralf Schumacher has made a good start this time. His brother Michael has made a superb start, and he's coming right up to the gearbox of Mika Häkkinen's McLaren. These are the 2 men who are 1st and 2nd in the World Championship.
Well, the other times that Schumacher's caught Häkkinen this year, he's just sailed straight past him. We've yet to see Mika really in a tough-to-tough, wheel-to-wheel battle, and I'm looking forward to that because Michael is quite clearly faster at the moment.
And hats off to Jean Alesi, the little Frenchman who's had so much criticism, but in fact has driven a very consistent 2 seasons in 97 and 98. He's up there in 4th place, ahead of Villeneuve, who started 3rd on the grid, down to 5th position. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in 6th place. Damon Hill, who started 7th, is still 7th. Johnny Herbert in the 2nd Sauber is in 8th position. And then it's Alexander Wurz, and Eddie Irvine must have some sort of a problem because he has slipped down from 5th on the grid to 10th in the race. And we're now on lap 2, coming up to complete it.
Häkkinen making a very good job of the complex, the last 3 corners of the lap, and pulling out a bit of breathing space on Michael Schumacher. Obviously those Bridgestones coming up to the operating temperature he's comfortable with, and Coulthard now beginning to close the gap to Schumacher too.
Yeah, it's Bridgestone leading, Goodyear 2nd, Bridgestone 3rd, Goodyear 4th, and there's Villeneuve, there is Frentzen. Frentzen is in 6th place. Look for the yellow Jordan, it's Damon Hill. Mika Häkkinen, obviously the quickest man on the track, 1:35.9.
You can see the dampness in the air. If you look at the vortices coming off the rear wing as they head down the straight, you'll see it like a grey smoke almost coming off the end of the rear wing tips. You can see it there, and soon you're going to find these drivers moving offline to keep their tyres cool. Very, very soon. We saw a little bit of it on the pit straight already at the end of the 2nd lap.
Now they're 11 seconds off the lap record at the present moment, which is held by Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, last year, 1:24.4. That's a combination of the fact that the track is damp and that they are on intermediate tyres, but as Martin has said, as this track dries out, there's going to come a critical time when someone is going to come in, and then the teams watching the telemetry in their garages, which tells them in 3 sectors around the lap what those individual sector times are, will spot that someone is going quicker, and then they'll all come pouring in. That is provided no more rain comes down. No sign of it at the moment.
Now listen to the throttle. He's having to wait a long time. He'll be gentle with it. Squeezing it very, very gently, not lighting up the rear wheels at all. Playing, has to just keep playing on the throttle and waiting. Otherwise he'll spin off the road. Seems slow, but there's no option.
Out of Woodcote, down the start and finish straight, up to Cox. He's doing some 180 miles an hour as he approaches Cox. Now there's the gap to 4th, and it's Jean Alesi, followed by Villeneuve. Frentzen is 6th, there is Damon Hill 7th. Eddie Irvine coming up through the field and taking Johnny Herbert. Now, whatever was wrong with Eddie Irvine seems to be coming right now. Maybe it was just a bad start. Anyway, he was down in 10th. He's now up in 8th position.
Yes, Irvine, I think, just had a poor getaway and got bundled around into the first corner. Kept his head, now he can start making his way back up.
Now, it's interesting to see the way the Williams are going. Villeneuve, who of course won this race last year and the year before, started 3rd, is 5th. You see them coming out. Look at the way Ralf Schumacher in the yellow Jordan there is going.
There they are, looking for the look at the back end of Johnny's car. The tyres are overheating already, and you saw them looking for that wet part of the racetrack to cool the tyres down. They're already in trouble.
Great drive by young Ralf Schumacher. There he is. is, and he's come up from 21st on the grid to 13th place on the 4th lap. If he can keep this up, he's going to be up in the top 10 fairly shortly. There is his teammate Damon Hill, followed by Eddie Irvine, followed by Johnny Herbert. We're on lap 4 now in this 60-lap British Grand Prix. No signs of rain, in fact, just the reverse. The circuit is drying out, and there is Schumacher, and look!
Yeah, Schumacher's... let's just see, is that Schumacher and Hakkinen, or is that Coulthard making his way? I think Schumacher's made a mistake somewhere on the lap. He did a poor mid-section, and that's yes. Coulthard homing in. Hakkinen is out front. Coulthard looking for the damp track again. And, well, David, a full half-second faster than Michael Schumacher on that lap, and that's why he was steering at the back of it.
Yeah, I thought I'd better be careful there. Had Schumacher got past Hakkinen, or had Coulthard caught Schumacher? That was the answer. Coulthard caught Schumacher. And now, on lap 5, Mika Hakkinen leads this race by over 3 seconds. That was a bad mistake by Michael Schumacher. And now David Coulthard is swarming about all over the track. Is it to try and get past Michael Schumacher, or is it to keep his tyres cool? He was going into a wetter part of the circuit there because no rain has fallen. And look at the way Coulthard is attack. This is Coulthard attacking for second place, and he knows he's got to get past Schumacher to try and get up with Hakkinen and win this race.
Yeah, Coulthard's got to win, and he needs to dispatch Michael Schumacher very quickly. He put a good move on the Prost into that corner this morning, but he was just too far behind. That's a brave one, David. Don't go and lock your front wheels. You've already run into Michael this year before in Argentina, but no problem. A fantastic move from David Coulthard, totally putting manners on Michael Schumacher. Now he can get after the World Championship leader, Mika Hakkinen.
That was a mega move by David Coulthard, who outdrove Michael Schumacher, the double world champion. And look at the way he's pulling away. Does this mean to say that Schumacher's tyres are starting to overheat and he's got to come in, and the Bridgestones of David Coulthard are lasting better? Well, now let's see what the gap was. It's starting to rain again. It's starting to rain again as I talk to you. And now Mika Hakkinen has extended his lead to 5 seconds, but this time it's over David Coulthard.
Yes, Coulthard lost a couple of seconds to Hakkinen, and Schumacher 4 seconds with that passing manoeuvre. So giving Mika Hakkinen a bit of breathing space. Now David's got to push very hard.
Well, what has happened to Michael Schumacher? This is not what you expect from him, especially in circumstances like this. Now, I can only hazard a guess that it's something to do with the tyres. Watch the way Jean Alesi in 4th position is starting to home in on Schumacher. And look at that battle behind them. That's Frentzen. There's Alesi. Behind Alesi is Damon Hill. Behind Damon Hill is Eddie Irvine. And 4th to 8th positions with Damon Hill there in 7th place are getting very close indeed. Frentzen, Villeneuve, Damon Hill now. What happened at the start? Here is the answer. Remember, the track was a lot wetter then than it is now. And look at the way Mika Hakkinen got away. Beautiful, clean start from Michael Schumacher with David Coulthard up to 3rd, and that's where Alesi got through.
Yes, and while you were talking all around that, Murray, I was watching Irvine away from that start, and he just seemed to bog down. He got away from the line initially well and ended up going absolutely nowhere. You can see him there, and that's how Alesi got through the middle of them. Hill going through too, and Herbert, and the 2 Benettons. So Irvine would be very unhappy going into the first corner.
And Eddie Irvine at the present moment is lapping 2.5 seconds slower than the leader, Mika Hakkinen. And Mika Hakkinen, of course, this year has already had 4 victories. He's looking for a 5th to extend his lead in the World Championship. We're over 1/10 race distance now because this is lap 7 out of 60. Hakkinen leads Coulthard by 5.3 seconds, but Coulthard's last lap was faster than Hakkinen's. Schumacher is 8.7 seconds now behind Hakkinen, and only 2 seconds ahead of Alesi. Look at this!
Now this is fantastic. David's got a lot of confidence. He made a lot of overtaking moves in France and pulled them off, and now he really puts one on Michael, leaves him nowhere to go. Total confidence, and off he goes. That was a great move that'll leave an indelible mark in Michael Schumacher's mind.
Now, David Coulthard is a very placid, easy-going chap, and I think he was really stung by what happened to him in qualifying yesterday. He was over a second slower than Mika Hakkinen, and he said, that wasn't me, that was something wrong with the car. And you can feel him now urging edging himself on to catch Mika Häkkinen. We're going to know the answer soon. The gap after he had immediately passed Michael Schumacher was 5 seconds. They're coming up towards the end of the lap now, with Frentzen there, 5th position, Villeneuve 6th, Damon Hill 7th, Eddie Irvine 8th, Johnny Herbert in 9th position, and behind him, Alexander Wurz in the leading of the 2 Benettons, which, as in qualifying, are not going very well. They're down in 10th and 11th places. Wurz, who finished 3rd last year in his first Grand Prix, a terrific drive, and Fisichella, who is 11th.
Well, compared to a good qualifying lap on their slick tyres, driving around this track that's virtually dry on those groove tyres will feel like something akin to a Morris Minor. They really have pathetic grip, and it seems like the tyres are made of jelly because they're squirming around. And every time you turn the wheel, it doesn't go in. Every time you touch the throttle, it lights up the rear tyres. But they've got to stick with it. It's a cat and mouse game. It's a brave man that would go in for slicks. I still think they're 3 or 4 seconds off of a slick time, and it's still spitting with rain.
Now, the experts tell me that the crossover time, as we ride with Damon Hill chasing Jacques Villeneuve ahead, the crossover time to switch from intermediates to groove tyres to the dry weather tyres is about 1 minute 34 seconds. They're currently lapping in 1 minute 37.
And that was Irvine putting a good move there on Damon Hill. Irvine down the outside, braking extremely late, and Irvine taking 7 places away from Damon.
Yep. Didier Irvine 7th. His next target is Jacques Villeneuve. You'll see him. There he is. The red Ferrari. And ahead of that, the red Williams. Behind them, the yellow Jordan. And Eddie Irvine is really flying. 1 minute 39.9 was his last lap. That is 2.5 seconds slower than Häkkinen. But then Irvine is caught up in traffic.
And Coulthard is on a lap 0.6 of a second faster so far than the leader Mika Häkkinen. So Coulthard making a charge, and Irvine already getting lined up to move past Villeneuve.
Lap 9, race order.
Villeneuve running wide. Villeneuve hitting the puddle of water, running wide, and it's too easy for Irvine. That's P6.
And Eddie Irvine, who dropped from 5th on the grid to 10th in the race, has fought his way up to 6th position. Here are the top 10. Häkkinen leads Coulthard by 4.7 seconds, and the gap is decreasing. Coulthard is 2nd, Schumacher is 3rd, Alesi is 4th, Frentzen is in 5th place. Look at the way Eddie Irvine is going in that Ferrari as he closes up on the man in front, who is now Heinz-Harald Frentzen. He's taken one Williams, now he's going for the other.
Coulthard taking 0.9 of a second in the end on that fast lap out of Häkkinen's lead. 4.7 seconds, as you can clearly see, is now the gap.
Now look at the gap between Eddie Irvine there, 6th, and Villeneuve 7th, Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert, Wurz, Fisichella. Here is the race leader, Mika Häkkinen, and David Coulthard lines up for the left-hander at Abbey. That's a 70-mile-an-hour corner, and Michael Schumacher just can't do anything about it. Who's catching who at the present moment? Well, Coulthard is catching Häkkinen, the rest are fairly static. Eddie Irvine is catching Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and Damon Hill in 8th place is catching Villeneuve.
And in the back of that group, we saw Ralf Schumacher, who had to start at the very back of the field because of technical infringements yesterday in qualifying, making his way through. So Ralf up to 12th place.
Yeah, the technical infringement, very briefly, was that he went out in the spare car and was not able to get out of it quickly enough to satisfy the safety regulations, as a result of which he was wheeled down to 21st. He'd qualified 10th, so a very severe penalty.
New fastest lap of the race to Michael Schumacher in 3rd place, suddenly getting a move on. So Michael now reducing the gap down to David Coulthard to 5 seconds.
There's a lot of action still to come in this British Grand Prix as we come up to 1/6 distance, because we're on lap 10 now out of 60, and those 50 laps that are left are going to disappear like snow on the desert, I think, because, as I say, there's going to be a lot of place changes. But are we getting any closer to that 1 minute 34 magic time when we can expect them to come over and switch to dry weather tyres? The answer is no. 1 minute 37.2 was the last lap for the leader, and 1 minute 30.
And that's Ralf making a move on Fisichella up the inside. Will Fisichella yield? I think it's Stowe corner. Yes, it is, through the veil. Fisichella has the inside line. I don't think Ralph can go around the outside. If he just bides his time, he might get a slingshot here out of club because he's forced Fisichella offline. If he can get on the throttle early enough, he'll get a run up to the Abbey chicane. Ralph on the move, but the two fastest cars on the track right now are the Ferraris.
Fisichella in 11th place. Look for Ralph Schumacher. His dander is up because he felt it was unfair that he'd been pushed down to that 21st position. So he's got a bit of a red miss, but he's just got to keep stable, keep cool, drive hard, but not too hard. And Fisichella is showing him the way at the moment.
Coulthard reducing the gap to Häkkinen, 3.8 seconds. David still on a charge.
But so is Michael Schumacher. He's just gone fastest of all in the first sector of the lap that he's completed. Coulthard is definitely catching Häkkinen. The gap is under 4 seconds. It's still 5 seconds from Coulthard to Michael Schumacher, who is third. It's 4.8 seconds to Alesi, who is fourth from Schumacher. Now there is the German in the Ferrari. Look back, the French Sicilian in the Sauber, and Mika Häkkinen in the beautiful silver and black McLaren Mercedes leads the British Grand Prix. 1/6 of the race completed, 50 laps to go.
Your heart sinks when you see that on your pit board, but with these conditions, the concentration level is massive. Every touch of the brake or the throttle pedal can send you off the road, and 50 laps to go is an awful long way in these track conditions.
Just contrast the times between the leader, Mika Häkkinen, 1 minute 36.7, and Esteban Tuero, the Argentine driver in the Minardi, who is last, 1 minute 45.8. So that is some 9 seconds slower per lap. And already Mika Häkkinen is scorching through the field. He's up to Shinji Nakano now in the second Minardi in 21st place. And he comes out from behind him to go through and lap the Japanese driver, as he has already lapped Esteban Tuero on lap 12.
Apparently it's still drizzling out
look
there.
at this. Sorry to interrupt you, Martin, but this is Eddie Irvine having dispatched Villeneuve. He's going for Frentzen, who is in 5th position. Well, my man of the race so far is certainly Eddie Irvine, and he's alongside, and he's going through on the inside, and Villeneuve has to defer. Now, I'm sure, Martin, that is tyres, because Villeneuve said he wasn't looking forward to this race if it was wet, because he felt that the rain tyre that he was on, the intermediate, was not as good as the one that Eddie Irvine is on.
Might be the case, but it was Frentzen he was overtaking into the first corner. We saw Frentzen have a look in his mirrors, and, well, like taking candy from a baby, wasn't it? Irvine up the inside, total confidence, he's on a roll.
Yep, 5th position for Eddie Irvine, and it's Häkkinen, Coulthard, the gap 3.8 seconds, Schumacher 3rd, he's not catching them. Alesi's 4th, he's not catching them either. Frentzen is static, but Irvine is really going. You've just seen the result. And that is Damon Hill. Now, he's in 8th position. It's Jacques Villeneuve in front of him as they come out of the right-hander. This is the longer wheelbase Williams, and this is the Ferrari, much changed, of Eddie Irvine. And I'm wondering, it's getting a bit darker as I talk to you. I'm wondering if I can see a lot of rain spots. It's just drizzle at the present moment on the window, but this track is certainly not drying out. Mika Häkkinen has just gone round in 1 minute 37.07.
New fastest lap for Michael Schumacher at 1:35.7. So either the very heavy fuel load, everybody would have filled their cars up with fuel on the start line to give them a better chance of having to come into the pits at the right time to go onto slicks if that indeed is necessary. So clearly Michael's enjoying his car more now he's got rid of a little bit of the fuel.
Well, I don't know how relevant it is to talk about one-stop and two-stop strategies because they are on intermediates and they may have to change for weather reasons. But if they were stopping twice, I would expect them to start coming in round about lap 21. If they were stopping once, I would expect them to come in at half distance, which is lap 30 out of 60. And that is Michael Schumacher, well, fastest man on the track at the present moment.
Yes, that'll give David Coulthard a fright when he comes round on this lap, and Mika Häkkinen. They'll see the pit board. McLaren will show them that Michael Schumacher took a full 1.6 seconds out of them on the last lap.
which is absolutely astounding. 3.8 seconds was the gap. You can never forget, never ignore, never underestimate the incredible Michael Schumacher, who's made Ferrari what it is this year and last year and the year before, since he's decided to leave Benetton.
It's so difficult to know how fast to go in these conditions, because one error and you're out of the race. You'll be in a gravel trap or buried in the hedge, and clearly Michael's decided the limit is somewhat higher than he's been pushing it to up until this point, and now he's really moving it.
Now, Michael is a human calculating machine. He's driven an enormous number of miles in racing cars, and you see the Jordan team there ready to get in. Will it be Damon Hill or will it be Ralf Schumacher? I suspect it's Damon Hill.
I'd be surprised if they're going to put slicks on there. Apparently they are waiting for Damon, but if the Stewarts were on slicks, they've been lapped already. They're running some 4 seconds a lap off the pace on the slick tyres, and well, I assume other teams know that there are guys out there already on slicks, and that's Ralph in the pits. So if he goes to slicks, that's a very early decision.
Well, we'll soon know the answer, because here is Ralf Schumacher in. Now, what's he putting on?
He's putting some more wets on,
yeah,
I think. Some more intermediate. Maybe it's wets that came off. Now they know it was in. I saw them. It was inters that came off and inters that went on. Strange.
Well, now we know that the Stewards started on groove tyres, which is the nearest we've got to full slicks now in 1998. Verstappen is ahead of Barrichello as they were on the grid, and they're only down in 18th and 19th places. They're lapping 5 seconds a lap off the leaders, but on the other hand, they're lapping 7 seconds a lap faster than the Minardis behind them. But we'll just have to wait and see. But as you look down, you see that track is getting greyer and greyer, and that means it's getting drier and drier. As over the line goes Mika Häkkinen. He's on his 15th lap now out of 60 at the British Grand Prix, and we're waiting for David Coulthard to come through. And Mika Häkkinen, of course, is dealing with traffic now. He's passed Tuero and Nakano. The next man he's going to go for is Verstappen. Oh, and that is Damon Hill. Damon Hill, has he spun off? Damon Hill was in 8th position. Has he stalled his engine?
I think he's stalled, otherwise he'd be trying to get away by now. I think he's talking on the radio. He's slamming the steering wheel, and a bad error there. I think that's Brooklands corner just near the end of the lap. Damon Hill, sadly, clearly out of the race.
Well, that's not the way he wanted to finish the British Grand Prix. It's not the way Jordan wanted him to finish the Grand Prix. It's the 9th race of the year. They've yet to score a single World Championship point. You saw his teammate, Michael Schumacher, driving past in the background. Ralf Schumacher, he's now up to 13th place. This is what happened.
He just got on the throttle just a fraction too early. You see what I mean? It's just impossible to know where the final limit is, and it's so slippery that it'll swap ends in a heartbeat.
Well, we've seen Damon walking back before, but that time was when he was leading the British Grand Prix in the Williams and his engine blew up in the closing stages of the race. Meantime, up to Olivier Panis, who is 16th in the dark blue Frost, goes Mika Häkkinen and laps him.
Yes, it's yo-yoing as the two McLarens go through the traffic. One moment it's Coulthard faster, the next it's Häkkinen, and the gap is now up to 5.3. It'll come down, I think. It'll come down at the end of this lap, but don't go away. If we see it, you'll see it. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome back. You can see a fierce battle going on between the two Arrow drivers there. Let's bring you up to date with the top 6 after 17 laps. It's Häkkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, Lacey, Irvine and Frentzen. And I see a Williams off in the boonies there. So we might just go... No, they've gone off that shot. Just stay with Timmy for a moment. Tim, we've been talking about tyres. It surprised me to see Ralf Schumacher go in and take intermediates off and then put intermediates back on.
Yes, but of course you don't know what compound those intermediates are. He could have replaced them with much harder intermediate tyres, much harder compound. It's interesting, this seesawing with Schumacher. 1 minute he was right there at the beginning of the race, he slipped back and he's competitive again. Sounds like he's got particularly hard compound tyres as well. One thing we should say, Martin Brundle keeps referring to the dry tyres as slicks. Of course, they're not slicks, they are grooved.
They do have a tread. And that was Frentzen that we saw very briefly when he went off into the infield. All right, let's go back to Murray.
Heavily, and they may be coming in to change from into into the pits comes Jos Verstappen.
Yes, this is what I was just talking about. I think he's going to put some inters on. I think they've had to say, right, yeah, look, there's some wetter, deeper groove tyres going on. Verstappen saying that's enough. It didn't pay off. Let's now go with the rest of the group.
Yeah, those are the Bridgestone full wets. You can see from the very heavy tread pattern on them that they have got the maximum water clearance characteristic. And you see Mika Häkkinen now supremely in the lead, just under 4 seconds ahead of David Coulthard, who, try as he may, is not making any impression on his teammate at the present moment. There's Häkkinen. There in the background is David Coulthard. Michael Schumacher is 9 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen.
Oh, look at Häkkinen there, desperately trying to get the power on the racetrack, and now it is raining. Look, you can see the spots of rain on the camera. Beginning of a little rooster tail again coming out of the back of the car as the rain and the spray gets lifted up. So now, look, a lot of activity in the pit lane. Are they going to go for full wets? Frentzen making his way back to explain it all to Frank Williams once again.
Lap 19, down comes the rain and in will come the drivers at 1/3 distance with some 40 laps still to go.
I'd be surprised if they come in for full wet, because there's unless they hit standing water, the inters should clear you can see how careful Michael's having to be, but the inters should clear the water well enough.
Well, the thing that fascinates me from Martin is how well the two McLarens are going on the new Bridgestone wets, and how tippy-toe Michael Schumacher is having to be on the new Goodyear wets. It seemed to be in the warm-up this morning that the Japanese tyre had got the advantage. It's looking like it in the race too. Now here is Eddie Irvine coming towards us in the background, and he's coming up behind Ricardo Rosset in the Tyrrell to lap him. 15th Rosset.
Yes, looking at the section times, it's quite clear that the Bridgestone Intermediate is much happier than the Goodyear one, because Michael is a full 2 seconds slower just through the first 3 corners than the 2 leading McLarens. So they seem to be just about happy enough, but it's clear to me that Michael may come in for a set of wets.
So Verstappen has been in for Bridgestone wets. Here is Fisichella leaving the pits. He's gone on to full Bridgestone wets. Here is Michael Schumacher. Is he going to come in to change his Goodyears from the intermediates to the Quattro tyres? And it's lap 20 now, 40 to go.
There's a lot of red overalls out in the pit lane, Murray. I think, judging by how slow Michael's having to go, clearly he's lost the temperature in those tyres. He just can't go fast enough to keep the temperature up. And when that happens, they just fall away from you, and you could fall off at a ridiculously slow speed. James Allen is down in the pits.
Yes, it's intermediates, believe it or not, Martin, that Michael Schumacher is going to be putting on. I'm standing out in the Ferrari garage looking at the rain, and it's coming down diagonally, so it's a very brave decision from Michael Schumacher, but it's actually, no, I take that back. It might be a set of no, it is indeed intermediate tyres. Michael Schumacher taking a gamble. Fisichella put full wets on, went from mediates to full wets, so that's his feeling. It's obviously getting wetter out there, but Shui still on intermediates.
Well, clearly they're going to be a lot warmer than the ones that he took off, so if he can get on it and stay on it, he can keep the temperature up on those. But maybe Michael had 2-stop fuel in the car, so obviously refueling, that would be about the time to come in for a 2-stop strategy.
And that's Villeneuve in the background. His teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen already out of the race. In from 7th place comes Jacques Villeneuve. That's Alexander Wurz in from 8th position. Very close thing as Villeneuve gets away ahead of the Benetton, as he was when he came into the pit. So they're pouring in now. Häkkinen and Coulthard still out there, of course, on their intermediates.
Yes, Coulthard making the lead, Häkkinen, making the lead to 4.4 seconds now, but no sign of the McLaren boys in the pit lane at the moment.
And Rubens Barrichello, who is in the Stewart car down in 20th position, comes up behind the two who just left the pit lane, Villeneuve and Fisichella. And the McLaren goes through. That's David Coulthard, still in 2nd place, still 5 seconds behind Häkkinen.
This Barrichello is now last. I really don't know why they've spent 20 laps before coming in and getting rid of those slicks, assuming our information was correct. They were on slicks at the beginning of the race, and we're pretty certain about that.
Lap 21, just 2 retirements. Damon Hill spun out Heinz Harald Frentzen did the same thing. So Rubens Barrichello is last at the present moment. He's been lapped.
You've got some breakup. What you could see before the breakup on that picture from Häkkinen's car is about all he can see. It's very, very poor visibility, and often you get steam on the inside of the visor, and you have to tape it down, make sure you get no moisture creeping around the edge. He's still got a tear off on his visor that he can get rid of, and that helps a lot because the water tends to get between the two layers.
Now, there's a British Union Jack flag on the circuit there that's obviously blown out from the crowd, distracting for the drivers. Incidentally, to show you how the conditions have deteriorated, the fastest lap we've had so far was Michael Schumacher on lap 12, 1:35.7. They're now lapping some 6 seconds slower than that. Häkkinen's just gone round in 1:41.8 as out come the McLaren mechanics with a new set of Bridgestones. But are they intermediates or are they full wets, and are they for Häkkinen or are they for Coulthard? This is Mika Häkkinen leading the British Grand Prix on lap 21 by 5 seconds. Jean Alesi, of course, now is up to 3rd position as a result of Schumacher coming in. This is Häkkinen, and the order at the present moment is Häkkinen that you are looking at, Coulthard. Into the pits comes David Coulthard. Alesi's 3rd. I don't think he'll get through before Coulthard stops. James Allen.
Yes, it's a set of intermediate Bridgestones that's going on to the McLaren. And interestingly, we saw David Coulthard have some problems refuelling in France. Well, Bernie Ecclestone, as a bit of a joke, installed an antique fuel pump just outside the McLaren garage for this race. But no problems this time for David. Quite a lot of fuel on board, though, guys.
I'm sure Ron Dennis had a broad smile on his face at that ho-ho-ho joke from Bernie Ecclestone. And you're looking now at Eddie Irvine in 4th position, only 3.5 seconds behind Jean Alesi. And look at the conditions. It's like driving through a grey soup.
Yes, I think David Coulthard should get out ahead of Alesi and Irvine, but if they're on a one-stopper, they're looking in pretty good shape.
Yeah, they are on lap 22 now. I would have thought they're more likely to be on a 2-stopper, but you never can tell with the fuel loads these days.
There's Coulthard and there's Irvine, so it does appear as if, and Michael coming up behind them, so it does appear as if David Coulthard stayed out in front of the traffic. Michael Schumacher is now running behind his teammate.
And of the leaders, the man who has made a stop, of course, is David Coulthard.
This must be Irvine's stop then, so look at the rain.
In, of course, yeah, look at the rain coming down as they wait for Eddie Irvine to come in from 4th position. Only about 3.5 seconds behind Jean Alesi. There is Alesi. The blue car there is Trulli, who's been lapped. The red car that you see coming towards you is Eddie Irvine in 4th position. The order is Häkkinen, Coulthard, Alesi. Irvine, Schumacher down to 5th after his stop. Johnny Herbert in 6th position. So good race after all so far for the Saubers. Alesi in 3rd place and Johnny Herbert in the points in 6th position. And it's a long time since he's been there.
Well, it's nice to see Silverstone in the summer, isn't it, Murray?
Absolutely, yes. Well, exciting conditions nevertheless. Now, Eddie Irvine tiptoes his way in, crosses the line where they have to.
And Alesi is just ahead of him, so Alesi responding to Irvine's call into the pits. That concrete gets very slippery when you come in for a pit stop. If I was Eddie, I'd get a few of those rip-offs off my visor.
4th and 5th in together now. There's no sign of Alesi there, so he has got away in front of Eddie.
Alesi's further down the pit lane, and they nearly got away into the side of him. So a good stop from Sauber, but Irvine just holding him.
I wonder if Eddie Irvine was all right on the speed limit.
So I'm wrong about that. Of course, Irvine has made a place. So Irvine passing Alesi for a place.
Yeah, I say that's what made me say I wonder if he's all right on the speed limit.
Well, I think it was just a better stop.
Well, anyway, Eddie Irvine now. We'll wait to see where Johnny Herbert is in relation to them. But so now there is Herbert, and he's ahead of Irvine. He is ahead of Alesi. So Johnny Herbert at the present moment is up into 4th position. The McLaren mechanics waiting now. It's Häkkinen to come in. David Coulthard, of course, has been in, and Häkkinen now comes in and James Allen is there.
Yes, and he's putting full wet tyres on. This could be the roll of dice that decides the British Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen comes in and puts a full set of wets on. Remember, David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher on intermediates. It's now raining harder than at any other time during the Grand Prix so far.
That looked like a slightly messy stop to me.
Well, it's 7.8 seconds on the side of the screen. I was about to say exactly the opposite. I thought it was like a good stop.
Anyway, out of the pit lane goes Mika Häkkinen, and he should still be in the lead because his teammate David Coulthard was 23 seconds behind him. He is. There is Häkkinen, and the second car you see in the background is David Coulthard. So McLarens are still first and second. Michael Schumacher is still third.
Well, a tactical move from McLaren. They've got one on wets and one on intermediates, so it'll be easy to see which is the better anytime now, because if Coulthard's got more grip, he should just zoom up behind Mika Häkkinen. I doubt there'll be that much in it at the moment.
Great stuff out. We had the first three all in the same shot as they come down the Hanger Straight. And here's Eddie Irvine and a Lacey, and Irvine having taken a Lacey in the pit lane, and Johnny Herbert there too.
Well, Johnny Herbert is giving Michael Schumacher a run for his money a little bit further up the track also. So Lacey chasing Irvine, Sauber chasing Ferrari, and the same thing happening just ahead of them. Herbert, really the only one of the top 10 runners that hasn't made a stop. There's Johnny now.
With Eddie Irvine ahead of him, with John Lacey behind him. And Irvine has benefited from that pit stop. There's the Ferrari, there is Johnny Herbert. Very good news for Johnny to be in the points. He won the British Grand Prix, of course, in 1995, when he benefited from the coming together between Michael Schumacher in the Benetton and Damon Hill in the Williams. And as they murkily grope their way up towards Abbey, Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari is consolidating that gap that he built between himself and Lacey.
Yeah, Johnny Herbert's made a mistake somewhere on this lap, because Irvine has passed him, and Herbert falling back into the grips of teammate John Lacey. So some kind of problem for Johnny Herbert in the midsection. He was very, very slow.
Lap 25 in the British Grand Prix, and we have the fascinating situation now of McLaren's first and second, with less than 3 seconds between Häkkinen and Coulthard. Ferrari's third and fourth, with Michael Schumacher 6 seconds behind David Coulthard, and Johnny Herbert, Eddie Irvine in fourth place, Johnny Herbert in fifth position, and Lacey in the sixth place. So both the Saubers, both the McLarens, both the Ferraris in the top six. Ralf Schumacher, driving an absolutely blinding race, is up in the Jordan from 21st on the grid to 7th in the race, and yes, he has had a stop. So there's no question there of false timing. He's ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, who's 8th. He's ahead of Wurz, who's 9th. And he's ahead of his teammate, Fisichella, who is in 10th position. Time to leave Silverstone for a few moments, but we'll be back.
Welcome back. A fantastic duel set up here with the two McLarens. Remember, one is on a different compound and the other one on a full wet, and they have closed right up. And there's the top six for you there. Häkkinen and Coulthard, only a second and a half separates them. Schumacher clinging on with his heavy rain. He's come back, Irvine, Herbert and Lacey. Now, the interesting thing here is that McLaren, Tim, has set them both out on different tyres, and Coulthard is getting the big advantage out of that.
Well, Coulthard running, of course, in this very wet conditions. I think he was on the wet tyres, so that's helping him. Schumacher's still in there. I think this is shaping up to be very exciting.
The amazing thing is that the heavier the rain gets, Schumacher seems to be closing in, yet he's on intermediates.
Well, I guess he's just braver than the rest. And we know about his skills in wet weather. We know about them in the dry weather. And I guess he's using all of those skills at the moment. We can just see him in that shot there.
Remember, both teams fantastic in the pits. This is really going to be a great duel. OK, let's go back to Murray and Martin.
To the side of race leader Mika Häkkinen. Coulthard should take him easily down the pit straight, and the gap is down to 0.7 of a second. 0.7 of a second now between David Coulthard and leading the British Grand Prix.
Let me take you back to the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne, the opening race of 1998, when, gentleman that he is, David Coulthard deferred to Mika Häkkinen to honour an agreement they made before the race, that if whoever whoever got to the first corner first, because of the superiority then of their McLarens, would take the race. And he gave way to Mika Häkkinen. And as a that's one of the Salvas. It's Johnny Herbert.
Oh no!
And he's bogged right down. His rear wheel spinning in the gravel trap. He won't get out of that. And that's 1 point loss for Salva. 1 point loss for Johnny Herbert. That is Olivier Panis in the pits from 13th position. Where on lap 38, no change in the first six. But yes, up into sixth position comes Ralf Schumacher now as a result of Johnny Herbert going out. So both the Schumacher brothers are points. Ralf Schumacher is sixth in the Jordan. Michael Schumacher is third in the Ferrari. And Eddie Irvine is fourth in the Ferrari.
Yeah, Swerven Irvine was the fastest man on the track on the last lap, so Eddie keeping up his great pace after that poor start. There's Coulthard, and there's Häkkinen ahead of him. And this is Johnny Herbert going off, just getting on the power a bit too early. Lazy's teammate nearly running into him. He's got the throttle on, look, but he won't get out of there. That'll need a tractor or several marshals in a very dangerous position to pull that car out of the way. So there's...
Hang on, that must be a Lacy, surely, because Johnny Herbert's... That's got to be a Lacy. It can't be Johnny Herbert's car having spun off into the gravel trap.
Well, unless they pushed Johnny out and he then drove back to the pits, because he has to retire anyway. If you get him pushed start, you're out of the race. So maybe that's Johnny. I would have a guess that that's Johnny recovering.
It is. I just read his name on the headrest behind him. False alarm. And Jordan Lacy is still in fifth position, but look at this. Häkkinen can now see Coulthard in his mirrors, and Ralf Schumacher is 8 seconds behind them. Michael Schumacher is 8 seconds behind them in the Ferrari. Race order, Häkkinen, Coulthard, here they are now.
They'll be giving those white lines and very brightly painted curbs a wide berth, because they'll have you off the road as quick as you like. They're so slippery. You've got to use all of the track available, but you must not touch those. After those first couple of races where they're unsure of their reliability, my two drivers are racing. They're out there to race. He'll have told them not to run into each other, of course, but they'll be entitled to race. Maybe before the end, if they've got a clear, they'll pull something into line to say, OK, guys, there's an arrow spinning off, and no harm done. He should, if he kept the engine going, he should recover from that, but no sign of any movement yet. And I think he's lost the engine. Yes, he's lost the engine. So Salo on the last corner, and Coulthard slightly quicker on that lap, 9 behind now, and Michael Schumacher 9 seconds behind that.
Yeah, in terms of team orders, we shouldn't forget that the FIA, the company,
Well, there you are. As I did mention off the top of the show, whenever it rains, we can get some problems with the satellite coverage that comes in. We've got picture breakup. Our technicians and everybody's technicians are working very, very hard to re-establish a picture for you. But this is turning out to be a great battle, isn't it? I mean, you've got the two McLarens, and you've got Schumacher, who's a rain master, just in the background, struggling. But the two McLarens are right on the money. All right, pictures are back. We'll take you back. Everybody relax. This is going to be a good race.
Johnny Herbert out. So there are 18 cars left out of the 22 that started. The last one who's running is Jarno Trulli in the frost.
Man and machine versus the racetrack, and you saw how hard. Yeah, we were right, Murray. That's Johnny recovering, and then the experienced guy that he is, he knows he'll be black flagged anyway, so go in the pits. But you saw Michael Schumacher working very hard to keep his Ferrari pointing in the right direction on the way out of club, as we saw a good side shot there of Eddie Irvine, who is currently running in a strong fourth.
And of course, absolutely no question of tyre changes towards the grooves. They're lapping in 139.5 now, compared with that magic figure of 134, where they could come in and change to groove tyres. We've had a lot of rain since then. It's still extremely wet. I can't see it drying out. There might be changes if it dries out to go back to intermediates. Here is Mika Salo spinning.
Well, he lost that a long way before the exit, didn't he? He got on the power way too early there, so Mika actually exiting the corner backwards.
Yeah, Mika Salo with Mika Häkkinen coming through. I mean, if that had happened a bit later, it might have been trouble for Häkkinen and Coulthard. Here they are, with Coulthard behind Barrichello, lapping him again. Rubens Barrichello is in 14th place, moves out wide, lets David Coulthard through, and inevitably David will have lost time as we look at Michael Schumacher still in that third position.
Well, it seems like Häkkinen is a little bit happy now. Maybe it's raining that bit hard. You can see quite a lot of rooster tails coming out of the back of the cars as they go down the straight at top speed. Look at the water pouring off the tyres of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. But it seems as if Häkkinen now is slightly more comfortable, and the gap is back up to 1.7 seconds to David Coulthard.
And although we've got 2 McLarens and 2 Ferraris in the top 4 places, they're in the wrong places as far as Ferrari are concerned, because with McLaren running first and second, they're on a potential 16 Constructors' World Championship points to extend their 11-point lead over Ferrari. Ferrari, of course, are on 7 points at the present moment for third and fourth positions from Schumacher and Irvine. And naturally, it's not doing anything for David Coulthard's World Championship chances, because at the present moment, the gap between him and Mika Häkkinen is increasing by 4 points.
Yeah, it's full wets now. They really, Coulthard will be struggling to hang on to that McLaren, because it really is raining hard. You can see full wets going on the Minardi there. Not that it'll have a big effect on the outcome of this race. But look now at the amount of water on the track, and that's why Häkkinen is beginning to ease away, up to 2.6 seconds now. But it can soon, if it just slows down, this track dries so quickly.
So there is Coulthard coming down towards us now. Behind Rubens Barrichello's white Stewart is Michael Schumacher, third in the Ferrari. He's had a couple of third places already this season. That's not what he's looking for. He's looking to, at minimum, split the McLarens, and obviously to beat both of them if he possibly can. And I must say that this is surprising me. I expected Schumacher, with his acknowledged range superiority, to be going better than he has done.
Look how hard Mick is driving.
That's Rosset.
He's not going to get out of there. Never, never, never. I think that's Cox. I think that's the first corner. I don't know. Don't ask me to explain how I know all these gravel traps so well, Mary. It's not that I've been in all of them, of course.
Well, he's 9 seconds off the pace, Ricardo Rosset. He's having a terrible season, and there are some people who think the Tyrrell team would like to replace him with someone else, but are not able to for various reasons. He's hanging on. You can't blame him. He wants to drive in Formula One. And that, of course, is a Minardi that's gone off. That's not the Tyrrell we're looking at. That's Esteban Tuero. So all of a sudden, the rot is increasing, with Rosset out and Tuero out, as well as Herbert, Salo, Frenson and Hill. And we're on lap 33 out of 60, over half distance in very difficult, but not appalling conditions. I've seen it a lot worse than that, although I'm not for one moment suggesting that it's easy to drive at Silverstone in these conditions. Just look at the water that's coming up from behind. Häkkinen's McLaren in first place there, and he's on his 33rd lap, and he's now 3.5 seconds ahead of Coulthard. The gap has increased, and Michael Schumacher is dropping back 13 seconds. Eddie Irvine is 22 seconds behind Schumacher.
Well, if Coulthard can keep it together until lap 40, then he can have a set of full wets, but you can see it's still spotting with rain. But David seems okay on those intermediates, but he just can't push as hard as Mika Häkkinen. You can see Mika has been attacking those braking areas, attacking the throttle, and David having to be a little more careful.
Here are the 2 Benettons of Alexander Wurz in 8th position, and Fisichella behind him. Now, there's been talk in the pit lane that Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren, is favouring Mika Häkkinen, and he was tackled about this, and he came out at the press conference and he said, yes, of course, there is a very strong emotional attachment between Mika Häkkinen and myself. He's been with the team since 1993. He had an appalling crash at Adelaide. He's recovered from that. He's driven magnificently. But I promise you that whilst there is that emotional attachment, there is no question of him getting favourable treatment in terms of the cars and equipment. He said it doesn't make any difference to me and to McLaren whether it's Coulthard or Häkkinen that wins. but Mika Häkkinen has had the edge over David Coulthard all season. So it's lap 34. We're going to take a break from Silverstone, but we will be back shortly.
Welcome back. Well, you're looking at young Schumacher there, Ralf Schumacher, having a fair drive in these conditions too. 35 laps over the halfway distance, Häkkinen and Coulthard. Great battle going on there. Schumacher hanging on and Irvine in behind him. So McLaren, Ferrari. Let's go back to Murray and Martin.
The difference between Coulthard and Häkkinen. Coulthard slightly the faster at the moment.
On the top 6, 2 are catching the man in front. Coulthard is catching Mika Häkkinen, although he's 3.7 seconds behind him. And Lacey is catching Irvine, although he's 21 seconds behind him. Now, there is Ralf Schumacher behind. Now, that's Schumacher, and he's got past Takagi as the Williams goes through, driven by Jacques Villeneuve. And Villeneuve there, the winner last year, the winner the year before. No question of a hat-trick for him in 1998, unless we get some absolutely astounding developments in the last 24, 25 laps, which is what we are into now. We're on lap 36 out of 60. The fastest lap, of course, is still that put up by Michael Schumacher on the 12th lap, 135.7.
Ralf into the pit lane for his second stop. Stopped very early last time around, so Ralf now for some more fuel. Be interesting to see what tyres he puts on. Oh, look out!
That's Patrick Head walks out.
Head trying to get himself run over, walking across the pit lane. But Ralf into the. Now let's have a look at these tyres. Intermediates going back on, so the track is stabilised, and Ralf going again for those inters that served him well, and up to 7th place, and a reasonable stop there for the Jordan team.
I wonder if this is going to turn out, Martin, like Donington in 1993. An appallingly wet race, much wetter than this. Alain Prost in the Williams stopped 5 times, and Senna, by virtue of his brilliance of virtuosity on slick tyres and intermediates, as far as I remember, only stopped twice. Well, now we have seen Ralf Schumacher make 2 stops. There is Jacques Villeneuve, who's in 6th position now, back in the points as a result of Schumacher coming into the pits. It's Häkkinen, Coulthard, 3 seconds between them. There is Häkkinen, and there is Coulthard. That is not 3 seconds.
Coulthard's taking no prisoners today, whether it's Michael Schumacher or the back markers. He knows he's got to win this race.
And isn't he going for it? He's just gone round 7/10 of a second faster than Mika Häkkinen, and that may have been partly due for traffic. But Coulthard there is right up behind Alexander Wurz to lap him. So, my goodness, the leaders are going quick, because we're only just over halfway through the race, and Alexander Wurz, who is in, as I say, 9th position, has been lapped.
Tricky moment here for Coulthard, because Wurz was busy trying to fall off around the outside of Priory, and I don't think he realises that second place man... Yeah, now he does. Look, he just realised that Wurz was so busy saving himself, he had no time for Coulthard, and that's held Coulthard up very badly.
Gritty bloke is Alexander Wurz. Remember the way he took Heinz-Harald Frentzen at the Senna S in Brazil this year. And just look at the rain at Silverstone. It really is getting very, very bad now. And McLaren, of course, have obviously overcome that refuelling problem that they had in the French Grand Prix for David Coulthard.
I'll say it again, the concentration level when you can't see where you're going, you're doing 180 miles an hour, you've got to brake in the right moment to the nearest metre. It's enormous. It's so demanding mentally and physically in these kind of conditions. Häkkinen again going well through the back markers and putting the challenger, the Prost jumping out of the way and putting the challenge back in David Coulthard's hands. Says match that. I've just passed 3 of them in 2 corners.
Yeah, he's just passed Trulli and Takagi, who are 15th and 16th, and he's now lapped them 3 times. An incredible demonstration of the difference in time.
Oh, was that David Coulthard spinning off? I think that's Coulthard's just gone off. He moved over to pass somebody. Oh, no. David Coulthard out of the race. He came up the inside to have a look at a back marker and straight off the track backwards. He's on those lesser groove tyres, clearly hit some water straight off the road. David a bit too ambitious on that move.
Out came the steering wheel furiously, and then David remembered, disciplined chap that he is, that it has to be replaced according to the regulations, and he stumps off. Well, I won't say that that's destroyed his World Championship chances, but if Häkkinen wins this race,
now
he's now
watch
going
this,
to be 30
look. He's coming up
points
the
ahead.
inside, look, touches the brakes and just completely spins. 2 360s. He'll never get out of there. He knows it. Has a brief try, and well, there was just too much standing water there, David. A bit risky up there, but he had to go for it. He needed the win.
Sympathy from the crowd, but he needs more than that. As Steve Hallam in the McLaren pit area looks at the monitors in front of him. There's just one McLaren left now, and McLaren's misfortune is Ferrari's good fortune, because Michael Schumacher now is up into second place. Eddie Irvine is up into third place, and that's improving their chances in the Constructors' World Championship. And Mika Häkkinen has got to stay really alert, but he's got plenty of time to stay alert, because Michael Schumacher is 24 seconds now on lap 39 out of 60 behind the race leader Mika Häkkinen. He's 25 seconds ahead of the third place man Eddie Irvine, but Ferrari are on 10 World Championship points, and there is their refuelling and tyre team getting ready to take somebody in for the second time, either Schumacher or Irvine. It'll be Eddie Irvine coming in.
This is Häkkinen trying to lap Villeneuve. Villeneuve moving out of the way. And, well, David Coulthard, because he's got 2.5 years less experience than Häkkinen and Schumacher, and that's what he needs to put in the book, because that was probably over-ambitious to be steaming up there on intermediates. But he'll have to walk back to the pits. It'll be one very sad David Coulthard, but it's taken the pressure off of this man, World Championship leader, Mika Häkkinen.
I mean, you've got to have sympathy for David Coulthard. You can't blame him for having a go. But he's now going to be 30 points behind Mika Häkkinen if Häkkinen wins this race. Off goes the McLaren. Good bit of retrieval there by the track marshals and the cranes and tractors. And Louise Goodman has got Johnny Herbert with her.
Johnny, we saw you sprinting off. What happened with the marshals afterwards?
Well, nothing really. It was about 3 laps, and I had someone speaking in the radio for ages, and then I got a bit of it once. They were asking me to let Jean pass, so I had to really abide by, the team. And then as I went to wave him past, I got a bit of spin, and I actually spun the car because I didn't have both hands on the wheel and not concentrating on what I was doing. So then when I spun, I got stuck on the dirt, and then they pushed me off, which is why I actually stopped, because once it's pushed by a marshal, you have to stop.
Turning into a bad day for the Britons.
Well, at the moment it is that way, and it was a shame, because for me it was going quite well. I was happy I was just doing a one stop, and it probably would have paid off, but it wasn't to be.
Full wets there for third place Eddie Irvine. You can see the amount of standing water. That's just in the pit lane. So Irvine wisely moving for full wets to protect his current podium position. He's 15 seconds ahead of Alesi when he made that stop.
I have to ask myself, why was Sauber asking Johnny Herbert to let Jean past? They were one behind the other, and I would have thought that Johnny was perfectly entitled to stay in front of him.
I tend to agree with you, and there's a lot of strange decision-making processes in that team.
Well, Häkkinen in.
The leader in the pits. No, doubtless they'll put full wets on that. Yes, they have the softer compound as well. It's wet enough to live without for the last 20 laps. Good stop again for Häkkinen, 7.6 seconds, as you can see. But unless Alesi came screaming up to the back of Johnny much faster per lap and then couldn't get anywhere. We weren't watching that particular battle that closely, so maybe Sauber were right.
Well, the gap between Häkkinen and Schumacher, who's now coming into the pits, I was going to say was 29 seconds. We would have seen, if Schumacher had gone through, how much it had come down, but that's irrelevant because he's coming in now for his second stop. So this is the man who is on 6 World Championship points at the moment, second in the World Championship, behind race leader Mika Häkkinen, who is leading the championship, and they've got 20 laps to go. They're both on full wets, and they should have had their last stop.
There's that concrete pad where they have to stop near to there. And look at the rain. This is from the heli-telly up there, and well, that's what the drivers are facing when it arrives down on the tarmac. But you really have to be careful coming in the pits. It's got something of the grip of oiled oak when you touch the brakes. It's very easy to run into your own mechanics, and that's not a good way for a quick pit stop.
Well, Mika Häkkinen, appalling as the conditions are, can afford to take things comparatively easy. He can't lose a lot of time anyway. Oh, and off
Trulli, isn't it?
spins Jarno Trulli, and he was down in 15th position. It looks like yet another retirement, because it looks to me as though he's lost the engine, and that is Jos Verstappen.
I wonder how long it'll be before they have to consider putting the safety car out in this race. If it gets to three-quarter distance, they can stop it on full points. I personally don't think it's wet enough just yet, but it's heading that way.
Just as a matter of interest, three-quarter distance is 45 laps, and we've now done, we're on the 42nd lap. So if they decide to stop the race, it could be in a few laps' time.
That's significant. Just listening to some of them coming down the pit straight, Murray, they're not on full throttle. And that's a sure sign of an awful... Where's he going? Well, that's a sure sign of an awful lot of water and standing water. That's when you're aquaplaning, and that's when you can go off and have a most enormous accident while minding your own business doing 180 miles an hour in what you thought was a straight line.
And that could just as easily happen to Häkkinen, Schumacher and Irvine, who are first, second and third, as anybody else in this race. Here are the positions on lap 42. Häkkinen leading by a massive 40 seconds. Schumacher second, Irvine a commanding third, a lacy fourth. Into the pits comes Ralf Schumacher.
He'll need the full wets. Remember, he put the inters on his second stop, but he now needs the full wets to have any chance of staying on the racetrack. And that's really taken away Jordan's opportunity for some points, unless a lot of cars fall off the road. And in these conditions, top drivers start radioing in and saying, look, it's this, it's that, you have to consider stopping this race. I remember doing that in 94. This is Trulli aquaplaning straight off the road, nothing he could do about it, obviously caught him completely by surprise. I remember calling for the race to be stopped, screaming on my radio. That's the McLaren.
It's Häkkinen
off the road. I don't think it's going to affect the lead, but look at the standing water.
Yeah.
They've got to consider the safety car.
Yeah.
There's too many cars aquaplaning off the road. I believe they have to put the safety car out now to have any way of... Look at him, he's barely touched the throttle. He's not... Oh, wow, and that's just through the Woodcote corner. And he'll be on the road and saying, get this race stopped, if he's got any sense.
I remember Alain Prost doing that at Monaco, nearly to be beaten by Ayrton Senna. Here's a replay. Let's have a look and see what happened. Well, car stepped straight out, and was he lucky to get away with that?
That's
straight
Bridge
across
corner.
Straight across the gravel trap, and he keeps it going, pointing in the right direction. Fabulous reflexes these Formula One drivers have got, and it's tiptoe time for Häkkinen.
Absolutely, and he was so lucky to get through. If that's Bridge Corner, which I think it is, yes, it's Bridge Corner, look, fastest corner on the circuit, and the thing just swaps ends, and I mean, he would be thinking, I'm out of the race, I'm definitely out of this race, and somehow ends up pointing the right way and finding a piece of tarmac that happens to be the racetrack.
So how are we? It's lap 43, and we won't know how much Schumacher benefited from that spin until the end of this lap. But since Häkkinen was leading by over 40 seconds, it may not have made all that difference. As Villeneuve comes in for a full set of wet. Now here is the order. Häkkinen leads Schumacher, Irvine is third, the two Benettons have benefited because Fisichella is up to fourth, and Lacey in the Sauber is sixth. Wurz is seventh. Villeneuve, that you've just seen come in, is in seventh position. That's the other steward out because we've seen Verstappen in trouble. That is Barrichello's car. There's not going to be all that many left in this race. That's a replay of Barrichello going off.
Barrichello relatively harmlessly hitting the conveyor belt, covering those tyres to stop the tyres coming into the cockpit. No problem there for Barrichello, but clearly he's out of the race. And, well, look at how slowly he's having to go now. I'm amazed. Somebody going down the pit straight here, having to get out of the throttle because they're going sideways. I'm amazed the safety car is not on the racetrack.
And it's lap 43. I wonder if they're considering stopping it. And out goes the second Prost. That's Olivier Panis. Now, there's only about 12 cars left in the race at the moment. It's difficult to keep up with it. It's starting to remind me of 1972 when Emerson Fittipaldi won in the most appalling conditions.
From a safety point of view, if one car can aquaplane into that place, another one can, and that's how I ended up hitting a marshal and busting his leg very badly in Japan in exactly these kind of conditions. I crashed into a place where somebody else had already crashed, and there's nothing he could do about that. Look, he was just minding his own business, going around the corner slowly.
He had full lock on instantaneously, but even so, it wasn't any help to him. There's a Minardi spinning of Shinji Nakano as he accelerates away. Lap 44, I say again, at three-quarter distance, after which full points will be given if the race is stopped, is on at the end of lap 45, and this is lap 44. And Schumacher has closed up dramatically on Häkkinen. He's still a long way behind him. There is Michael Schumacher. The gap is down to 38 seconds, and it was getting on for about 49 seconds at one point. But Häkkinen isn't going all that much slower, if any, than Michael Schumacher.
Look at that. Yes, safety car now, yeah.
Now
they had to do it.
This is the second British Grand Prix in succession where the safety car has come out. There it is, driven by British Formula 3 ex-champion Oliver Gavin, who did very well in the Porsche race here yesterday. And you may think that looks like a perfectly normal Mercedes-Benz, but believe you me, it is not. It's got a 5-litre V8 engine in it, which produces a massive 400 horsepower, I think it is. And Oliver, I nearly called him, getting the Panis thing, calling him Olivier. Oliver Gavin was saying that he really has to lean very hard on the car's performance, not to go too slow for the Formula One cars behind him.
Now's the moment to come in and put some tyres on or get some fuel if you need any, because you can always because the safety car will hold them up. There'll be laps of something like 4 or 5 minutes at least. You'll lose virtually no position, providing you can maintain some kind of track position, not end up in the back of the crocodile.
Yeah, and it means, of course, now what happens, of course, is the safety car is there with the lights on him. The cars are supposed to pass him until the leader is behind.
There's the green light, look, they're saying pass, go. We're looking for Mika Häkkinen. Yeah. Get on with it.
Then when Mika Häkkinen comes up, he will adopt station. And then, of course, this race is virtually going to restart because Michael Schumacher, as Häkkinen comes down the hangar straight towards Stowe, Schumacher will be right behind him. Irvine will be right behind Schumacher. Alesi will be right behind Irvine. Fisichella will be right behind Alesi. And Wurz will be right behind Fisichella. So there's going to be all the top men, nose to tail. There is Michael Schumacher coming through to adopt his position by passing Tora Takagi.
While you're eloquently explaining that, Murray, I'm looking out the window and it has stopped raining. Certainly the waves of rain that were moving across the start-finish line here have calmed down. And as you very correctly predict, oh, look, you see, it's even possible to go off under a pace car situation. Takagi there having a real handful to keep the Tyrrell on the racetrack. But they're going to be, if they restart the race under greens, they're going to be line astern.
I noticed Michael Schumacher, I'm just trying to think through the regulations. Michael Schumacher's making no real attempt to get past Takagi. It may be because the conditions are so appalling, he doesn't want to.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to pass under the full course yellow. He's got to, I mean, Takagi's got to get on with it. It's really bad news. It happens in sports car races a lot. If you get behind a very slow car, you can't even catch the safety car up if you're not careful.
Well, this is the second race this year that Oliver Gavin has led very convincingly indeed. He's enjoying a nice dry drive inside the safety car, waiting now for Mika Häkkinen to come up behind him and for Schumacher to do the same thing.
Now, Häkkinen, as you say, has made it to the safety car. And what happens here is you can lose tyre pressure. And the one thing you need to clear the water is lots of tyre pressure in those tyres, because it opens up the grooves and clears the water, and you have less aquaplaning, and so running slowly is not what they need.
As you see Schumacher go through, there is the tractor crane, if that's the right thing to call it, removing the Prost of Olivier Panis, number 11. There's Ralph Schumacher going through in the background. The order as they line up behind the safety car on lap 46 out of 60 now at Silverstone is Häkkinen, Schumacher, Irvine, McLaren, Ferrari. Fourth is Alesi in the Sauber. Fifth is Fisichella in the Benetton, and sixth is Wurz in the Benetton. Ralf Schumacher is in 7th position. All the first 6 have stopped twice and are on full wets, ready to resume this race. I'm wondering when, what the point about resuming this race will be the deciding one. We've got to wait for the rain to slow down a bit.
Well, I used to request that they nominated 2 or 3 drivers that they would talk to via their team and get a response from the drivers. I don't think they want to do that, and I think they're going to use, from the safety car, they're going to use their best judgment, and it's very difficult to do. Remember, they're on road tyres on board this safety car you're looking at now, and it's difficult for them to judge, is this track any good for a Formula 1 car?
Martin, look, there is Schumacher coming up. He's passed the 2 cars to lap them, and he's now almost behind. No, he hasn't passed them, I apologise. Looked as though he was coming through.
Yeah, he'll be black flagged if he does.
Yeah,
he'll want to pass them very quickly after the restart. Yeah. But you can see, look, it's definitely clearing up, isn't it? I'm looking in the air, really, rather than on the track there, Murray, because you're looking at me a bit blank.
Yes. Well, Michael holding station, but you can see that he's much, much closer to Mika Häkkinen. The gap, I remind you, was some 40 seconds, and look at it now with 14.14 laps to go. Mika Häkkinen holding. I remember Jacques Villeneuve got his corns trodden on because at one race. Yeah, look, it's clearing up a bit. That's a comparative statement, but you can see it's much brighter overhead now than it was. When will the safety car be coming in? And the answer is when the lights on the roof go out at the end of that lap, and you can see they're still flashing. The safety car will peel off into the pit lane, and Michael Schumacher will know it is now or never to attack Mika Häkkinen, and Mika Häkkinen will know it's now or never to repel and continue to do so. Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. Oh, they're staying out for another lap. They're now on lap 47. Safety car comes down towards Copse.
Well, while they're taking this very slow lap behind the safety car, we'll take a break.
Welcome back. Well, Tim Schenken, I mean, you don't get much more water on a circuit than that, and how lucky was Mika Häkkinen?
Mika Häkkinen very, very lucky in that incident. Just sheer quantity of water on the circuit. No chance, nothing to do with driving, just aquaplaned, out of control, and sheer good luck being able to get through such a big gravel trap and back onto the circuit.
Unbelievable.
He did lose a bit of body work. I don't know whether that'll affect the aerodynamics of the car.
Now, you have been in this position where you've had to make a decision of safety cars out. Your thoughts on what you're seeing? We're a long way away from the action, of course, but on what you're seeing, you think the race should continue?
Well, there's plenty of wind. The circuit, those big tyres and all that spray, that'll soon get a lot of water off, certainly on the racing line. And I would have thought if it doesn't rain again, there's no reason why it couldn't be restarted.
And it does appear that the rain has backed off.
Yes, that's what we're hearing. There was a lot of water on the apex of some of the corners, puddling. That seems to have gone, so with a bit of luck, we'll have a restart. All
right, well, that's Tim Schenken's point of view. As I said, he's been in that position in a Grand Prix to make those sort of decisions. So let's go back now to hear what Murray and Martin have got to say.
Spinning off the road, losing rear grip through the puddles, so I think Mika should be okay with that.
And that's Mika's wife, Aya, who is anxiously watching the progress of her recently married husband. As Jean Todt, the Ferrari team boss, anxiously watches the progress of Michael Schumacher, second, Eddie Irvine, third. The closing stages of the British Grand Prix at a rain-soaked Silverstone are going to be monumental.
Well, I'm pretty certain they're going to restart this race under green, so don't go away, because it's going to be a real dash to the line. And, I mean, how much grip will there be? I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows how much standing water there is to affect a Formula One car at top speed. So they'll have to tread very carefully on that first lap.
Well, this is lap 48. 12 laps to go, including this one, each of 3.2 miles. The previous winner, Jacques Villeneuve, and the year before, Jacques Villeneuve, is in 8th position, not even in the points. Mika Häkkinen leads, and he has already this year won 4 times to lead the World Championship. Michael Schumacher has won 3 times and is second in the World Championship. One of these men at the present moment looks certain to win it in 1998, but there are still a lot of races to go after this one.
I think they'll probably do 1 or 2. If I had to guess, I'd say 1 or 2 more laps with this safety car, and the track looks like it's ready for some action. Still quite a lot of standing water in the complex at the end, but that's not high-speed, dangerous stuff. Yeah. So the drivers, you can sense the drivers, look, they're moving around, squirting the throttle, trying to get some temperature back in those tyres. The drivers also sense it must be soon. The track is drying out, the water's dispersing, and they're getting ready. It's a strange time in the car. Everything goes calm and quiet. You're still in a Grand Prix. You have a little chat with yourself. You talk about what's going to happen if and when they restart it. And it's a very lonely moment, and you really got to keep your concentration, just have a little think about it and take the opportunity to breathe deeply and get ready.
And of course, Jean Todt, the Ferrari boss, won't only have said to Dave Richards, please tell Fisichella that Schumacher is right behind him, but he will have also said, please tell Alexander Wurz that Eddie Irvine is right behind him. There's the proof, you see. The track order at the present moment is Häkkinen, Fisichella, Schumacher, Wurz, Irvine, and Häkkinen, Schumacher and Irvine are all ahead of Fisichella and Wurz in the race. So there's practically a lap difference between the Benettons, the 2 Ferraris and Mika Häkkinen's McLaren there. And we're now on lap 49 out of this 60-lap British Grand Prix. Are the lights out? No, they're still on.
I think we think they will come in the pits at the end of this lap. We're looking at the computer. Safety car will come in at the end of lap 49. So I'm expecting him to knock the lights off anytime soon. The teams will be frantically radioing to the drivers, and the safety car will wander off down the pit lane, and the race will be on.
And all the cars are together on the track. All 11 out of the 22 that started the 60-lap British Grand Prix. The 9th round of the 1998 World Championship. Häkkinen, Fisichella, Schumacher on the inside.
Yes, Häkkinen doing exactly the right thing. He's backing them up because the safety car will be relatively slow getting into the pit lane. So Häkkinen wants a good squirt out of left field to get it clear. There he goes, look. He's taken it by surprise. Schuey's going around the outside. He must not pass him until that start-finish line on the exit of Woodcote. And let's see what happens. He's holding position. Look, he's holding back. He knows what he's got to do. Well done, Michael. Now you can go for it.
Yeah, now Michael is in the clear legally, and he can set about Mika Häkkinen, and the pressure is on. This is lap 50 in the 60-lap British Grand Prix, and Eddie Irvine, has he got ahead of? Yes, he has. Eddie Irvine has passed Alexander Wurz, so the top 3 men are well out on their own. Mika Häkkinen leading. There is Michael Schumacher behind him in second position. This is another titanic battle between McLaren and Ferrari.
Well, Mika Häkkinen is finding where the puddles are. He's first there. Schumacher already is in the gravel trap. Already Michael's homing in on him because he can watch Häkkinen to see where he's sliding. Häkkinen's got to find the way, and Michael can just follow in his wheel tracks.
And Irvine has got ahead of Fisichella as well. So you see McLaren, Ferrari, first, second and third on lap 50, coming up to the end of it. And Michael Schumacher, who was nearly 40 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen, is right in his wheel tracks now. He's diving into that tremendous plume of spray. Mika Häkkinen, of course, has got a clear track in front of him, and Michael Schumacher has got a daunting task, not only to catch catch the McLaren, but then to brave the spray, dive into it and try to get through.
Well, they're earning their money this afternoon. This is as tough as it gets to keep a Formula One car pointing in the right direction. And it's a head-to-head for the World Championship, of course. Hakkinen the leader, Michael Schumacher the second-place man, with clearly more confidence on this first lap.
And I haven't mentioned Jean Lacey, who is still in there somewhere in that 11-car train. He's in fourth position in the race behind Eddie Irvine. And who is that of?
Tuero, isn't it?
Yes, it's the Minardi of Tuero. There is Hakkinen on his 51st lap.
Actually, I think Tuero was in the gravel trap earlier. It's the other one to
Hakkinen
whoever in the
and
Nakano.
Schumacher.
Hakkinen's off!
Hakkinen goes off! And Schumacher leads! Michael Schumacher leads the British Grand Prix on lap 51. Now, I would venture a guess that nothing is going to stop Michael Schumacher now from winning the British Grand Prix and making it a hat-trick. And the question is, can Eddie Irvine catch Mika Hakkinen? That was a momentary lapse. Mika Hakkinen was taking the penalty of being the first person to come on standing water. And now, Rainmaster Michael Schumacher, who next
There we go.
again.
He goes in, he runs wide, and he elects to take to the grass. He knows if he turned any more, he'd spin off. Had to take to the grass. Would have damaged him. Remember, he has lost a bit of downforce from that front wing, and Mika not getting it over to the curb on the way into Beckett.
Totaling 60 for him to complete the British Grand Prix.
It's not over yet. Look at him aquaplaning to the outside of the corner. It's not over yet. There's a lot of throttle pressing and brake pressing to be done to get that car through the last 10 laps.
Indeed, you're right. Now, get yourself together. Here is the order. Schumacher leads Hakkinen, Irvine is third, Lacey is fourth, Fisichella is fifth, Woods is sixth, Ralf Schumacher is seventh, Jacques Villeneuve in the Williams, the only one left, is eighth, Shinji Nakano is ninth, Takagi is 10th, Pedro Diniz is 11th. There are only 11 out of the 22 starters left. And look at that gap now between Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen, with the German exploiting the clear track ahead of him.
This is a good scrap. Ralf Schumacher's had a wonderful afternoon. It's really been going well. He's now trying to take sixth position from Alexander Wurz. So good scrap going on there between all of the youngsters. Fisichella just ahead of them.
And remember, Jordan have yet to score a World Championship point in 1998. It's all down to little Ralph. Little in terms of age, not in terms of size. He's a big man and he's through. He's through.
Nice move there from Ralph, but he's got to make it steep because Wurz is going to go all the way around the outside.
Wow.
Well done, Alexander. And now Ralph will have a punt up the inside. I wouldn't be surprised, but that's not the place to overtake.
Remember how Wurz passed Frentzen in Brazil. Remember how Wurz battled with Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari at Monaco. He's a hard man.
Well, in true British style, the sun is now shining. So here we go. We should have an uninterrupted end through to the end of the final checkered flag of this British Grand Prix.
Yeah, and the sun can burn off tons of moisture at Silverstone, and it still won't make them come in to change tyres, because we're on lap 52 now. There are just 8 laps to go, and each of those 8 laps are going to take about 1 minute and 45 seconds. No time for the tyres to degrade. And Michael Schumacher leads the British Grand Prix. He's won in Canada. That was the 7th race of the year. He won the last one in France. Is he going to make it the triple, the hat-trick? 3 races in succession by winning here at Silverstone.
Michael Schumacher is over 6 seconds in the lead. He's really putting some manners on Mika Hakkinen. He's just walking away from him. 3-4 seconds a lap faster, and Hakkinen is going to be under pressure from Eddie Irvine on for his 6th podium in 7 races. We can get it to the end. We're going to take a quick break. Be back shortly.
Welcome back. Villeneuve just seconds ago coming off in a big way, but manages to plant the power on the lawn. How he kept those tyres from bogging down. Only Only the experts can do that. Flicks it around and away he goes again. Fantastic. But look at this duel now. This is Eddie Irvine in the other Ferrari really running down on Mika Häkkinen. Remember, Häkkinen was 40 seconds in front before the pace car. 54 laps gone. Schumacher, Häkkinen, Irvine, Fisichella, Wirtz and Schumacher getting some points for Eddie Jordan. That's fantastic. Timmy Schenken, congratulations, because one of the best decisions you've ever made was to keep this thing going.
Well, I wish it was my decision, but Charlie Whiting, the FIA race director, would have made that decision. Interesting just watching Villeneuve go off. You notice he just missed the apex, slightly wide, water, and lost the control of the car completely, just aquaplaned. And this is the problem now for these other drivers, certainly for Irvine and for, oh, that's interesting, an umbrella on the circuit, for Häkkinen to keep on the racing line, keep where the track is dry. Look, we've got the sun out as well. Amazing.
Yeah, well, that's England. All right, let's go back to Murray and Martin.
He is down in 8th position. No points for Williams in this race. Frentzen long since out of it. Retirements in retirement order. Damon Hill out very early. Then Frentzen, Salo, Johnny Herbert, Esteban Tuero, Rosset, Trulli, David Coulthard, Verstappen, Barrichello, Panis and Deniz. And there are only 10 cars left out of the 22 that started. We're on lap 56.
Well, Michael Schumacher 14.9 seconds ahead now. There's a lot of talk that Ferrari are trying to sign him until the end of 2001 at least, and maybe 2002. And with this kind of performance, you can see exactly why.
Well, I had a feeling in my bones that Eddie Irvine might win this race. It doesn't look as though he's going to do that, but he could finish in second place. Just look at this. This is his 74th Grand Prix. He's driven for Jordan. He's played for Ferrari.
Well, as you can see, that picture break up again. Worst time it could happen, but we've got people working all over the place to try and restore that. As we said at the top of the show, you get a wet day, it always seems to happen. Always seems to happen at Silverstone too. What a race when you think that Häkkinen had a 40-second lead. The pace car comes up, they close up. The difference is Schumacher's made big inroads, 10 seconds since then. I mean, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? We'll come back and talk to Tim in a moment or two, because that's Irvine chasing Häkkinen. If Ferrari go 1 and 2 here, Italy, let me tell you, will erupt. Let's go back to Murray.
To Bridge, that's 150 miles an hour. Up to the complex now, the left-hander of Priory, the left-hander of Brooklands, into the double right-hander at Luffield, the last corner at Woodcote, and that will be the completion of their 56th lap. Michael Schumacher is already on, and look what Häkkinen can see. That's the view from Häkkinen's camera, and that will be roughly what Mika Häkkinen himself can see, with the knowledge that Eddie Irvine is in his wheel tracks, down the start and finish straight, into Cox, on lap.
Irvine 9/10 behind now, faster on that lap by 0.6 of a second. Even though he's in the spray of Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher 18 seconds in the lead.
Well, if Eddie Irvine does get past Mika Häkkinen, it will be a considerable mental blow for the Finn. Not only to have been passed by Mika Häkkinen when he went off, but by Irvine as well.
Eddie hit the puddle quite badly there, lost a bit of time to Mika. Eddie pushing hard through Beckett's and has fallen back slightly, but I think if he can get near him, he'll pass him, but he's running out of time.
Only the top 3 are on the same lap now. Wirtz is 4th, he's been lapped. Remember, he was 3rd in his first Grand Prix last year here at Silverstone. A great drive, and today. Fisichella is 5th, he's been lapped. Both the Benettons in the top 5. Jordan looked like getting their single World Championship point if Ralf Schumacher, who is 6th, can finish this race. And he has only got to do 59 laps because he's already been lapped.
And let's remember that Ralf Schumacher started on the back of the grid, had 3 stops because he ended up on the wrong set of tyres when it was raining heavily, the wrong type of tyre. So there will be a well-earned point from this man, Ralf Schumacher, in his Jordan.
Yeah, and Ralf Schumacher's only 23 years old. This is his 2nd season of Grand Prix racing. He's very much under the shadow of his brother, and there is his brother, double world champion, 1994 and 1995 for Benetton. He means to make it 1998 for Ferrari, and he's certainly going the right way about it, because he's now only got 2 laps to go at the end of this one. 2 laps is 6 miles.
Yes, Irvine falling back. You can see they're watching the section times. Irvine falling away from Häkkinen now. Clearly, as that water's dispersing since those laps of the safety car, Hakkinen has got more confidence to really get on it, and Eddie doesn't seem to have an answer. There you go again. There's Mika pulling away now, looking more secure for that second place.
So is Mika in with a shout to win the British Grand Prix? Not unless Michael Schumacher has mechanical trouble or goes off, because the gap between them is 18 seconds, and Schumacher is on his 58th lap with just the 59th and 60th laps to go in what has turned out to be a really nail-biting finish, thanks to the appearance of the safety car, which closed everybody up before the restart. The British Grand Prix, in effect, restarted, but for a very good reason. That safety car came out. Quite dreadful weather conditions, with cars spinning off left, right and centre.
We think a stop-and-go penalty for Michael Schumacher. The lollipop was ready there. We didn't see any tyres. I wonder what he's done. There's nothing on the computer to suggest, unless he passed somebody under the yellow flag. Is he going to come in the pits this time? No, he's not.
I see nothing on our information channels to tell us. And Schumacher now is on his 59th lap. He's got this one and the next one to go.
If it's in the last section of the race, they add it on to his race time. But I can't really see that he's done anything to get such a penalty. But his crew are down there in the pit lane, and
well, he's
trying to get that confirmed.
James Allen, have you got news?
I have. I'm in the Ferrari garage. Ross Brawn and Stefano Domenicali, the team manager, are frantically talking. They've just been handed a statement from the stewards telling them why they've been given a penalty. I can't get my hands on it yet. Presumably it's because the stewards think that he overtook before the start-finish line. It must have been a microscopic decision if it's the case. Ross Brawn shaking his head, waving at the steward, saying, no, 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 you're wrong, you're wrong. But Michael doesn't look as though he's coming in. I think, Martin, you may be right. They'll add it to his time at the end of the race.
Well, the time, he's 20 seconds ahead of Mika Hakkinen now, and it's a moot point how long it takes to come in, stop, go and get out again. But in my opinion, it's going to be more than 20 seconds. The British Grand Prix could be ending with a cloud over it in more ways than one. The black one that's overhead and the political one as well, because there would be a political uproar of the greatest possible magnitude if that happened. And he is coming in. He is coming in, we are told. He's on his 59th lap now.
I'm not too sure about that. I think they'll stay out and fight that one out later on. Let's see. I mean, his crew is still there. The man's lazily waving the lollipop around where Michael may have to stop. But if I was them, I thought if it happened in the last few laps of the race, you didn't have to come in. But there's Michael taking a wide line out of left field. I think they're going to carry on, win the race and argue about it later.
And we won't know the answer for some time if that is the case, because Michael Schumacher is on lap 60 now. As you've just seen, that is the final lap of the British Grand Prix. Is the decision going to hang in the air and long after we've finished?
Well, the Benettons are fighting each other for position. Vert's fourth, Fisichella fifth. Irvine's a lap ahead of them and clearly not at all happy now the track's beginning to dry out. He's fallen some 4.7 seconds back from Mika Hakkinen in second place.
Well, Mika Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher well and truly on that last lap. There's Eddie Irvine pursued by Alexander Wurz, who in fact is a full lap behind him. Alexander Wurz is in fourth place. His teammate Fisichella right behind him is in fifth position. But into the Vale for the 60th and last time. Up to Club Corner for the 60th and last time. Irrespective of whether he's going to win this race or be penalised and finish we know not where, it would be second place, I'm sure. Past on the wet, sodden track as the wind tugs at it. Michael Schumacher, the back steps out on the Ferrari, and he's up to bridge now for the last time.
He's giving it absolutely everything, isn't he, on this lap?
Yeah,
I think he's trying to pull out he's running wide there looking for it. I think he's trying to pull out something, trying to get it to 30 seconds, but I really don't know how this one's going to end up, if they're going to have to fight this out with the stewards.
We won't know that. He won't get it up to 30 seconds. He's going to get it up to about 25. It was 23 when this race started.
He's in the pit lane. Schumacher in the pit lane. So,
well,
that means he'll win the race because he crosses the start-finish line to be... he crosses the start-finish line now, I believe. Well, yes, it's lap 60 to take his penalty. But the race is over, surely.
Well, this could be an incredible bit of political acumen. Meantime, I'm looking to see Mika Hakkinen go through, and I'm desperately... There is Mika Hakkinen, and Michael
Michael Schumacher, and I'm pretty sure that Michael Schumacher has won the British Grand Prix. He's made his stop-start. He's crossed the finish line before Mika Häkkinen, but that is very, very, very unofficial. We've got to wait for the official news. Meantime, I'm watching the computer that gives us this information. It says lap 60, Michael Schumacher in pit. Mika Häkkinen's crossed the line. I frankly do not know the answer at the moment.
I checked this out on Thursday. Remember, they've repositioned the start, but the finish line and therefore the timing beams are back there at Woodcote. Michael Schumacher's pit is past that point. And of course, they register the cars as they come in the pit lane. So Michael Schumacher won the race going down the pit lane, took his stop and go, which is completely irrelevant.
He's still hammering on. He's still hammering on very hard indeed. I hope you're right, Martin. Winner, you are right. You are right. Well done. Fabulous.
Well, hang on, that's the guy who puts the captions up, Murray. He's not the stupid.
Yeah, but he gets official information. I'll go with that until someone tells me officially that that is not the situation. Ferrari are going mad in their garage, I can tell you that. I have never, ever, in the years I've been watching Grand Prix racing, seen a finish like that. It is absolutely unprecedented. Now, I take that as an official statement that Michael Schumacher won the British Grand Prix, and that is the first time he has won it. It brings him to within 2 World Championship points of Mika Häkkinen, and it means to say that he has now won the last 3 Grand Prix. He's won 4 Grand Prix altogether to Mika Häkkinen's 4 Grand Prix. And Eddie Irvine crosses the line and finishes in 3rd position. Mika Häkkinen has already finished in 2nd place. Alexander Wurz has been lapped and therefore finished 4th, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. And joy of joys for Jordan and their Silverstone base. Ralf Schumacher finishes 6th and gets Jordan's first World Championship point. And there he is, happily waving.
Mika Häkkinen going round on the slowing down lap, waving at the crowd, as is Ralf for his 1 point. But Häkkinen probably thinking he's won the race, and this is as bizarre as I've ever seen the finish of a Grand Prix.
But Mika certainly gets the controversy. Remember the way he won at Jerez last year, when Jacques Villeneuve and David Coulthard moved over and let him through in the closing stages, well, the last corner of the race. But Mika Häkkinen, if we are to believe what we have been told, is going to get a very unpleasant shock in a minute.
Well, they say it's better to be born lucky than rich, and Häkkinen losing the car in the middle of bridge, remember, on the water, going through an enormous gravel trap and finding himself back on the racetrack without hitting anything, albeit damaging the front wing slightly. Absolutely incredible, but we're not absolutely sure who's won it. Murray thinks it's Michael Schumacher. James, what do you know?
Well, it's very interesting. I just had a word with Ross Brawn and Ron Dennis. Neither of them want to speak on the record at the moment. I said to Ross, do you think you've won this race? He said, James, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we did that stop and go during a time with which we're allowed to do it. Ron Dennis is saying they took the stop and go in the pit lane, but they're not allowed to do that. It's a bit like prize fighters in a boxing match. They both think they've won. We're waiting for the referee's decision now on points.
Well, I may be being a bit pedantic, but I don't know where else you take a stop and go than in the pit lane. It used to be at a special place, but then the ruling was changed and you take the stop and go at your garage in the pit lane.
Yes, but when you receive that official notice from the stewards that you have to sign, the team manager must sign, you have to make your stop and go within a certain period of time.
3 laps.
3 laps after that. So he may, what Ross Brawn was saying, I think, is they may have been outside of that, but they elected to take it after the race had finished.
I do hope that this British Grand Prix, where so many drivers have tried so hard at such potential risk to win this race, is going to be decided in the stewards.
And look, Schumacher's saying yes or no.
Is he saying yes or no, or is that despair because he hasn't won? He's congratulating little brother, and that's typical of Michael, who's got altogether the wrong image and reputation. He's an extremely nice chap, and he would be the first to congratulate him. And Mika Häkkinen does not look too happy with things. I'm trying to read things from body language, and that body language does not, to me, me say that Michael Schumacher has not won the British Grand Prix. He believes he has, his Ferrari mechanics think he has, and Mika Häkkinen sitting glumly in the car and now wearily taking his gloves off does not look like a man who thinks he's won to me. And Pasquale is leading Ralf Schumacher in. We are looking at the winner of the British Grand Prix, who yet again congratulates his teammate Eddie Irvine on a stunning race, and Mika Häkkinen could not look gloomier.
Well, if they're positioning themselves to demonstrate to the stewards what they think, Michael's definitely winning the battle, but Häkkinen looking as if he's received some very bad news. Michael looking as if they're saying, oh, well, let's pretend we won it anyway. Well, let's see who they put on the podium. They've really got to make a decision before...
Do you know, this takes me back to Japan, when we stood waiting for Ayrton Senna to come onto the podium after he and Prost had that coming together in 1989. And who came out? Alice Nannini.
Yeah, Nannini was given the race win, and they all stood behind the podium waiting for the procedure to take place because they weren't sure quite who'd won the race, because they Senna ran to Prost earlier in the race and went across an illegal piece of gravel away from the racetrack.
And it wasn't until Nannini, surprisingly, to our consternation, in fact, stepped on to, and to his consternation, stepped onto the first step of the podium that we knew he was the winner. So who is going to get onto the top step now?
They've really got to make a decision. They were going to weigh the drivers anyway with their helmet. You can see Häkkinen now being weighed.
I'm convinced that Häkkinen thinks he's lost. That was a sort of weary, well done, Mika. Well done, Michael, handshake. And everything about Michael Schumacher says to me that he thinks he's won. Well, what an incredible ending. We've seen some amazing races at Silverstone, but never one quite like this. Now, according to my information, the top 6 point scorers, the winner, Michael Schumacher, as I've said, 3 races in succession. Ferrari now really are back. Yes, they're back because Mika Häkkinen went off and lost the lead, but to finish first you have to finish, and you have to finish first, and Michael Schumacher did that, I think. Michael Schumacher the winner, Mika Häkkinen second, Eddie Irvine third. They're the top 3 steps of the podium. Then the 2 Benettons of Alexander Wurz and Giancarlo Fisichella. Ralf Schumacher wins Jordan's first point, breaks the drought for the Silverstone team to their enormous relief. It's been a long time coming, only 1 point then, but every little helps. And that's the long climb up to the podium and the media centre. It's going to be a very interesting conference. Jean Todt congratulates, well done Mika, well done, but let me get at Michael. I've got a confidential word to say to him.
Well, Jean wants to get to him before he speaks to the press. Jean wants to give him the real story, and so they can synchronise their watches on that and be singing off the same hymn sheet a little bit later on. I don't think it's over and done yet, Murray.
No, I fear you may be right, actually. It really is an amazing situation, this, but we're going to know the top man on the top step of the podium is the winner, because they're not going to let him get on it if he's not. And Michael Schumacher emerges. Michael Schumacher waves to the crowd. He got a gigantic reception here yesterday. And up onto the top step to receive his award from Prince Michael of Kent goes an overjoyed Michael Schumacher.
national anthem for Michael Schumacher, the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. First and third at Silverstone.
Well, there you are, Tim. What a moment. I mean, this man, just the adulation that comes out of the Ferrari camp, the mechanics, they just love this man.
Well, the drama of the finish. I mean, what's happened there? Is it all over?
Well, we're not sure. I mean, you know the rule book better than anybody else I know, and you've been scouring that, but we'll come back to that in a moment or two. Look at these magnificent trophies here. We are going to bring you all the post-race interviews, so stay with us because this thing is not over yet, I wouldn't think, although unusual to get the nod to stand on the #1 spot if you haven't won it.
Well, that's true. Of course, is true, is what I'm trying to say. But however, maybe the McLarens are considering protesting. If it's not clear, they'll certainly be looking very closely at it. Very interesting situation. Not often that you can win a race driving across the finish line in pit lane.
Oh, no doubt about it. But I tell you what, we've always talked about Ferrari's pit work and the brains behind it. That was very well thought out.
Was very well thought out. Martin was right when he said they have 3 laps in which to bring him in, and that was very clever. They're thinking on their feet, no question about it.
Well, there's the big champagne spray. Jean Todt getting plenty of attention too. I mean, this man really has done a fantastic job with Ferrari. I mean, we talk about Schumacher, we talk about Irvine, but you made a comment to me before coming on air tonight that this team now is really a multinational team.
Well, it certainly is. When I drove for Ferrari in the early 70s, it was all Italians, and in fact, in Adelaide in the early years, a lot of the old people there I knew, but sadly they're gone. Multinational team, I think that's probably what you've got to do.
All righty, I'll make their way off the cap throw, of course, traditional these days. Didn't go too far, it was too wet. We'll come back after the break. Remember, we'll give you all of the interviews. There's a lot happening, a lot going to be said about this race as yet, so stay with us.